coming
How
up.
does God feel about homosexuality?
He created me, and if he didn't want me to be this way, then I imagine he wouldn't have created me this way.
Do you ever wonder, well, if God made me a homosexual and he intended for me to be with another woman, knowing that I would want a family, why did he make it possible for me to lay down with another woman and make a baby? Have you ever thought about that?
I feel fantastic. I've had a smile on my face the whole time. I might be happier than you. I'm young. I'm successful. I own a home. I found somebody I love. I have a great degree. I feel great. I've in no way. I have not felt like I need to overcome anything.
Welcome to the Fallen State. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you so much for being with me. America is divided over same-sex marriage and transgender laws. My guest today is Tamika Buckler, co-chair of the National Center for Lesbian Rights. She received her JD from Stanford Law School in 2009. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
So you're a lawyer?
I'm a lawyer by training, but I no longer practice law.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
It wasn't for me.
Really?
Yeah, I practiced employment law at a legal aid office, and I focused on race discrimination, gender discrimination, and LGBT discrimination. And I had great clients. The work was really important, but I didn't like being a litigator.
Are you a Christian?
Yes, I was raised in a black family. My grandmother, every time I talk to her, tells me how she's praying for me. So
She's praying that you overcome that?
No, she's just praying that I'm safe out here. She thinks LA can be a little crazy. But she's probably was easier to accept than even my parents.
Oh really? Your grandmother?
Mm-hmm.
So how does God feel about homosexuality?
He created me. And if he didn't want me to be this way, then I imagine he wouldn't have created me this way.
I agree that God created us. Do you believe that God created homosexuality, the spirit, the sin of homosexuality, or did some type of trauma happen to bring that on?
I can't speak for everyone, but in my life there was no trauma that brought it on. I was raised by both of my parents. My dad was in the military. I traveled the world. I had two parents who loved me, who were always there for me, who coached my teams, who always showed up at school. I was a great student. Obviously, I got into Stanford Law School, and I think he created me to be a strong black queer woman, and I don't know that I believe it's a sin.
There's men and women who are overcoming homosexuality every day. What do you say to those people?
Everyone leads their own journey. If someone believes that it's something for them to overcome, then that's their opinion. I personally don't feel that way. And I think, in fact, there are many people who are much happier when they just accept who they are.
When did you know that you were a lesbian?
Pretty early on. Probably in middle school, we got cable, and there was the show on MTV, The Real World, and they had gay people on that show, and I think that's the first time I even knew what the word gay meant.
Right.
And I think that's when it really made sense for me.
There are Christians who disagree with homosexuality. There are Christian bakers who refuse to bake a wedding cake and participate in a same-sex wedding, and they're now being fined and punished for that. Should a Christian private business be forced to participate in a so-called same-sex wedding?
We can all agree that anybody who's being discriminated against the law is wrong. And it's
but if you have a private business, if you wake up one day and you decide, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to use my money, my energy, my time. Shouldn't you have the right to discriminate against whomever you want to? Because it might not be good for you financially, but you do have a right who you can serve.
I think it's right once we as a country say there is a law. I think it is right for people to respect that law, and often that means you cannot discriminate against other people.
What I don't understand about and it's mostly radical LGBT people, they are going around the country and they are looking for Christian businesses and organizations to impose themselves upon. What is wrong with them that they think they have a right to do that and the Christians don't have a right to fight back? Why I don't see them doing it to Muslims or Jewish businesses. What is wrong with them that they think they have a right to impose upon Christians?
Well, for me, I think it's a hard question to answer because I don't think it's a good question. I think the premise just I don't know that I agree with it. I don't know what a radical LGBT person is. You have cases, and cases come from real life incidents, and I think that more times than you have so-called radical folks, I think you actually have folks like my wife and I who just say, I want a really good cake. I like dessert. And I heard from my friends that this place has good cake. And so you go to that place and you don't expect to be discriminated against. You don't expect to be violated.
I don't agree with that. When you go in there and you say, I want a gay cake, a homosexual cake.
What is homosexual cake?
Because it's for
I
a
think
homosexual couple, right?
If you and I eat the same cake, my cake isn't homosexual because I'm gay. Just like if we order pizza and you take a slice and I take a slice, it's not a gay pizza.
But why would you pass up a gay bakery to go to a Christian bakery that you know does not want to service you?
I don't want to presuppose that I know.
But no, you know that most Christians don't want to participate in that.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
That's why they attack. I mean, you have some that do, but most
I don't think that's true.
If you went to a Christian baker, would you sue them? Would you personally sue them?
I don't know. I'd probably talk to my wife, and we'd probably make that decision together. And I think it would depend on what we experienced.
But you know your own heart. Would you want to sue them?
I was raised by strong black women who taught me that I only got where I was because other people stood up and said when things were wrong. And so I think that the reason I was a civil rights lawyer, I think the reason I do civil rights work is because I was raised to believe that you have to speak up when people do things that aren't right.
So you would sue them?
I would speak up.
But would you sue?
Like I said, if it was me and my wife, I would talk to my wife.
When you say wife and you being a woman, that doesn't sound, I mean, I understand that you like that and you accept it, but it doesn't sound strange to you to say me and my wife and you are a female?
No, it feels great. It feels great to find a person who loves me for who I am, who supports me, who makes me laugh, who does the laundry when I don't do the laundry. That feels really, really awesome to have a partner in life who I know I can always depend on. Makes me happy.
Does it bother you that the two of you can't have children together?
I think it's inaccurate to say as two women we can't have children. We can have children.
But you can't, not together. You can't get
but
in
again,
bed
my
with-
heterosexual friends can't have children together
but that's
either.
an abnormal situation. Normally, a man and a woman can have a baby, but due to some type of defect, you do find cases where a woman might not be able to have children, have a baby, or a man can't make it. But there's no way that you and another woman can get in bed and make a baby. Do you ever wonder, well, if God made me a homosexual and he intended for me to be with another woman, knowing that I would want a family, why did he make it possible for me to lay down with another woman and make a baby? Have you ever thought about that?
I believe God has created all of us. So if God created the people who figured out how to help my heterosexual friends who very much want children, and the fact that he created a way for them to do that, that we as a world, as a people have figured out how to operate in those situations, that leads me to believe that it is possible. So it doesn't feel weird, and you can ask me 4 different ways, but I'm never gonna think it's weird because it's who I am.
Do you believe that children need the influence of a father and a mother?
I think children need the influence of people who love them and care about them.
How about a father and a mother? Do you believe that they need that influence of a father and a mother?
I have had too many friends who have been raised by single parents. One, as a military kid, where I have had friends and I have had people in my community whose parents have died serving our country. I have had too many people who I know and who I respect and who I love who have been raised by single parents, dads or moms, to believe that it is impossible to raise a brilliant, loving, mature child.
Give me a yes or no to the question. Do you believe that
I just did.
boys and girls need the influence of their father and mother.
I just answered your question. I'm sorry if you didn't understand
Yeah,
it.
I missed it. I'm black and slow.
So-
do they need the influence of a father and a mother?
I think it is my belief that children need the influence of people who love them, care about them,
Is that a
and
no
support
to
them.
my question?
I'm sorry I answered your question.
As a Christian, do you believe in sin?
I do believe in sin, yeah.
And what is sin?
For me, the easiest way to explain it, and especially for non-Christians, is, I try to lead a life where I don't treat people differently than I want to be treated.
So, what is sin?
I'm sorry that we're missing each other, but I feel like I answered that question.
To treat people the way you like to be treated?
I feel like the cardinal sin is not treating other people well. as
So
if you
when
wanna be
radical
treated.
homosexuals impose on Christians who don't want to participate in their lifestyle, is that a sin?
I don't know what a radical homosexual is. And
The ones who are trying to get the laws changed. So let's go back to sin. What is sin? Tell me again, what is sin? Is there any other sin besides treating each other the way we would like to be treated?
I mean, what do you think?
I say yeah, a whole bunch of more.
Like what?
Two men or two women acting as though there's a man and a woman. God is not for that. He didn't create that sin, and He would want you to overcome it. That's why Christ came, so that we could overcome the, sin.
But
Sins.
I don't know all gay people, but I feel like it's not about pretending like one of you is a man and one of you is a woman. It's just being who you are and being open to love and being loved.
So as a Christian, you don't know what sin is? That's the only sin that you know, is to treat each other differently than you would like to be treated?
No,
Are there any other sins?
I didn't say that was the only sin.
Give me the example of some more.
What I said in response to your question is it a sin to force people to bake a cake that they don't want to bake because of their religion? My response to that question was that I think that what courts are supposed to do, understanding the legal system, courts are supposed to,
I know, but let's go back to sin. As a Christian, give me other examples, a couple other examples of sin.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure what sin is?
I'm not sure.
So you're saying, yes, if a man decides that he feels like a woman, he's at a football game, had a couple beers, and he decides, you know what, I'm going into the ladies' bathroom. I feel like a woman right now. He should be able to go into that bathroom. He has a right.
I don't want to be combative, but I'm not going to answer questions that describe people in ways in which they're not. And somebody who is transgender is not just someone who feels like a woman on a particular day because they've had a few beers. I think that's disrespectful to transgender people. And so I'm not going to describe people in a way that is not accurate because
So
I
let's
wouldn't
say
want
that you
people to
have
describe
men
me.
who feel like women, and they're dressing in women's clothing. They have identified as a transgender, full-fledged person. Should they be allowed to go into the bathroom of choice?
If I am a person who is transgender and I feel more comfortable and I feel more safe using whichever bathroom, then I should be able to use that bathroom.
And so the straight person doesn't have a choice in that, or say so. If they don't want that because they feel imposed upon, or let's say that my daughter is going into the women's bathroom, but here is a transgender man who feels like a woman going into that same bathroom, do I have a right to say, no, this is not going to happen for the protection and the privacy of my daughter?
Your daughter has already used
No,
the
that's not the
bathroom
question. That's
with
not the
the
question.
transgender.
Answer that question.
Your
Should that be allowed if I'm against that for my daughter?
your daughter, and the thing is, in order for me to answer questions, you can't interrupt me. And I know that's been tough for you throughout this, but I can't answer your questions if you interrupt me when I'm answering them. I don't know what your daughter does in the bathroom, but when I go to the bathroom, I have to pee or something else. And so I go into the bathroom, I go into the stall, I shut the door. And so what I'm doing in the bathroom isn't imposing on anyone else. It's taking care of my
But you are
bodily
imposing.
function.
If it's a man who dressed like a woman and my daughter is in that bathroom, this man He may have in his own mind think that he's a woman when in reality he's still a man. I have a right to say no, I'm not going to allow this to happen, and the transgender person doesn't have a right to impose on that, because that's what the radical movement, homosexual movement, is about: is freedom, right? And non-discrimination.
For the
you don't
third
want to be
time,
discriminated.
I don't know what a radical homosexual is.
Should transgender people be fighting for transgenders' bathrooms rather than imposing on straight people?
Should black people be fighting for black bathrooms?
It's not the same thing.
But
it's a put down to associate being black with homosexuality.
Well,
it's a disgrace to black people who have died, black and whites who have fought for the freedom of black Americans based on skin color. It's not a sin to be black, but it is a sin to be a homosexual, because you can overcome homosexuality, but you cannot overcome being black. Just ask Michael Jackson; he never was able to overcome.
I think that I don't think that most people are actually trying to overcome their homosexuality. And I think if we're actually looking at what these laws do, they are about so much more than bathrooms. It's about denying people public access. It's about jobs. It's about employment discrimination. It's about
none of that is true.
It is true.
What it is, in reality, homosexual people, especially the radical ones, are not comfortable with being homosexuals, and they don't want anything or anybody around them to remind them that they're wrong. And so that's why they're trying to impose themselves on Christian bakers and same bathroom, because they can't handle being wrong.
Are you homosexual?
No, but all sin create conflict.
But hold on, but if you're not homosexual, then you can't speak for a group of people.
I know what sin does for you. It creates conflict.
But you can't. I feel great being gay.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I feel fantastic.
You really don't.
I feel fantastic. I've had a smile on my face the whole time. I might be happier than you. I'm young. I'm successful. I own a home. I found somebody I love. I have a great degree. I feel great. I've in no way. I have not felt like I need to overcome anything.
The one thing I can absolutely guarantee you, with all the successes that you've been able to gain, when you're alone by yourself, when no one is around to validate you, you're not being praised for your successes, reality kicks in, and you have conflict about being a homosexual. You're not happy with it. I don't care what you say. I know for a fact that that happens.
Not only is it homophobic, but it is sexist for you as a man to tell me as a woman that I'm
not falling for that. Don't go there with me. That's not going to work.
That I'm not smart enough to know how I feel in my darkest, quietest moments.
You're not honest about the conflict.
But if you told me this is how I feel, I would respect you enough as a person to say, okay, I believe you, because you have no reason to lie to me.
No. I know how sin works. And when we are living in sin, we have no peace. That's why we have to always find things to do.
But I don't feel as though I'm living in sin. I'm being open and honest with myself.
Okay, I accept it. You are helping two lesbians transition a daughter by the name of Raylan into a transgender boy, and you're giving them a courage award. Is there courage in doing wrong?
I think there is courage in living openly. I think there's courage in living freely. And I think there is courage in loving your children unconditionally and supporting them no matter who they are.
So you don't think that it's evil for parents to transgender this little girl before she's old enough to make her own decision into a boy? You don't think that's evil?
It's hard to answer your question. First of all, transgender is not a verb. You can't transgender someone.
I mean, why not wait and let this kid grow up to make her own decision? What's the rush?
If you don't know this kid, then you literally cannot speak to what this child feels in their heart. You can't speak to what this child is experiencing. We are losing transgender youth every day at an astronomical number. And so the rush, the urgency is not losing another life.
Well, the reason that they're losing their lives because they have conflict within themselves due to sin, and no
But
one
you
is
don't know
helping
that.
them to overcome that.
But you don't know
Rather
that.
than dealing with that, they're trying to change the body parts and make Christians accept it.
We're losing them because they're surrounded by people who are full of hate instead
That's
of
not
full
it
of
at
love.
all. That's not true.
And-
Absolutely
you-
not true.
but
and
we
that's
can
the
agree
thing
to
that the
disagree.
radical use. They say, "Oh, you're discriminating." Christians have a right to disagree, just as the homosexuals have a right to disagree. But
And
you
so we
agree
can't-
with a parent that would take their little child and change the body part
I agree with the parent who
on
would
that
love their
child,
child.
from a girl to a boy.
I agree with the parent who would love their child.
That's not love.
Because I've been.
That is not love.
In your
I know
opinion.
love.
In
That
your
is
opinion.
not love.
And you're,
because
you
if they
haven't treated me with love today. I don't know that
I'm
you know
giving you
love.
total love. You're not having fun?
I disagree. It might not be
You
fun.
look like you're having fun.
Because I'm a nice person and because I have
You
very
are.
cute dimples. And so I always look like I'm having
That's
a good
right.
time.
I want to ask you about Kurt, is it Schillings? Schilling?
Schilling.
Yeah, he worked for ESPN
Mm-hmm.
and he posted a meme on Facebook where he had this big bully guy dressed in drag and says something like, "Would you want this guy to go into your daughter's bathroom?" He was fired for that. Was ESPN right in firing him for expressing himself on his own Facebook page?
I think once you decide to be an employee for a company, you have to know their rules. And when Kurt Schilling decided to work there, he decided to follow a certain code. And I applaud ESPN for not allowing somebody to spew hate.
So if I had a bakery and I said men are not allowed to come to work dressed in drag, and if you do, you get fired, and some guy or woman tests that, I, as a Christian bakery, have a right to fire them, right?
Where your example is different is that is discrimination. Kurt Schilling was not discriminated against. He was not treated differently because of his participation in a protected class, which is the law. I remember I'm an employment lawyer. So he was not in a protected class and he was not treated differently for his role in that protected class. That is different than
So
treating
if I had
someone.
a business and my policy is that you can't come to work dressed in drag, no matter whom you are, you dress in drag, you're out of here, would I be right in firing the drag queen?
Kurt Schilling was not in a protected class, and also they did not treat him differently. They treated him the same way they treated everyone.
It's a shame. So I'm okay with people being homosexuals or whatever they want to be because that's up to the person. I just don't like when they're imposing it upon, like with the bathroom thing for transgenders, with the bakers. But as far as being what you want to be, you have a right. Even God let you be what you want to be. He's not going to force you to change. And so I have no right to make that judgment either. I just think that Christians have to fight back when these people are imposing on them, or changing the laws and putting you out of business and things like that.
I'm okay disagreeing. I'm good.
Well, I appreciate you coming. Did you have fun?
No.
You didn't have fun?
No, I've heard it's a sin to lie, so I won't lie. I didn't have fun. I think this was in many ways personally damaging to me.
In what way?
But I'm happy that hopefully I answered some of your questions.
No,
and
you
hopefully
represented
had
yourself
fun.
very well. You did well, don't worry. You did good.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming.
Thanks.
All right. And thank you guys for coming as well.